Okay, today is lesson number 87. It's another review lesson. It's a review lesson of lesson number 73, I Will There Be Light. And number 74, There Is No Will But God's. As I was reading these lessons, it occurred to me that there was something that Jesus said when he was around. And he told the people he was with on that particular day, said, if I can't tell you about earthly things, I can't tell you about heaven. You won't let me tell you about heavenly things. Um, and there's an element of that in the Course. Of course, Jesus, most of the time, is talking to us about the way we've used our minds and the way we experience ourselves or our hearts. Um, he's been talking to us about why um, we don't think we're getting the result of our own thinking, although we are. And how it's important to recognize we're getting the result of our own thinking in order for us to change it, because unless we're getting the result of our own thinking, unless the power of our mind is being utilized by us in a way that can be demonstrated to us as our doing it to ourselves here in space and time, there really is no way to change it, because you're not changing anything that you feel needs to be changed. And I don't know if that's clear, but it's necessary. It's necessary, as Jesus says in the text, it's necessary that you discover how you use the power of your mind in denial so that you can see why you're getting the results of your own thinking, so that you can make the decision to not get the result of your own thinking and learn to think in a new way. Learn to think in an entirely new way. In this first lesson, I will there be light. I will use the power. I will use the power of my will today. It is not my will to grope about in darkness, fearful of shadows and afraid of things unseen and unreal. Light shall be my guide today. Now, any relatively speaking normal person would make the statement, I don't want to grope around in the darkness. I don't want to be I don't want to be fearful of shadows. I don't want to be afraid of things that are seen, that are unseen and unreal. That makes perfect sense. Now, what doesn't make sense then that follows is the thinking that if you are, or you're seeming to grope around in darkness, if you're seeming to be afraid of shadows, if you are afraid of things that are unseen and therefore you don't even know if they're reality or not, then either somebody's doing that to you, or the statement that you're using, I don't want to grope around in darkness, is true, but for some reason you're not getting the effect of it. And that's what this course is designed to help you understand. If you could come to the conclusion by yourself, if in a single instant, and the old man used to talk about, you need to stand still for a second. You need to stand still and let it be real. Let it happen to you. There's a moment where you really need to stand still and see, oh, wait a second, I had that thought, and that thought brought this to me. I am doing this to myself, and now I can begin to not only have the thought of what I'm doing, but the experience of me doing it to myself be recognized consciously, so I can see that I don't have to do that anymore because I've had the ability to do it. And that's how we discover the power of our mind as we've used it in this condition of denying our reality. But of course, it wouldn't be anyone's will to grope around in the darkness. Now, if we can get you to admit, if Jesus can get you to admit that you are groping around in the darkness, so while that sentence makes sense, it's in fact not what you've been doing. And what you've been doing is groping around in the darkness willingly and not wanting to find. But reasonably speaking, you would have to make the leap. Well, I don't want to do that. And that's what Jesus is telling you. Even in this world, you don't want to do that. You would rather not. Now, here are ways to do that. So you must let him tell you about how you're using the power of your mind in the world of space and time to manufacture the conditions that you're experiencing and the experiences that you're having, in order for you to recognize that you've never lost the power of your mind. And once you recognize that, now the training can take a new direction. It can take a direction to allow you to use it to get experiences, to gain experiences that are in line with who you are in the kingdom and who are in line with who you are in reality, so you could stop being afraid of your own reality, stop being afraid of the power of your mind, stop being afraid of your creator, and begin to recognize the truth about who you are and actually where you are as well. Um, so when Jesus says in the text to Helen and Bill that no real corrective thinking or no real corrections can occur until man makes the decision to allow back into his spiritual eye the light that he shut his spiritual eye off to by his own will, willingly. And if we can recognize we do that by admitting that we are groping around in the dark, then we can see that we never lost the power of our mind, and we begin to use the power of our mind in a way that can actually help us achieve the goals that we want to achieve. And everybody wants to be happy. And you can't be happy when you feel like you're in darkness. You can't be happy when you're afraid, when you're fearful of shadows. And certainly you can never be happy if in the back of your mind you have these unseen things that really don't have any reality right here and right now, causing you to be concerned about what's going to happen to you and what's going on to you, and if you're even sane enough to see what's going on to you right now is actually what's going on. And it is with that recognition we could then say, wait a second, I will use the power of my mind, power of my will today, and I will there be light. This cannot hide the light I will to see. You stand with me in light. You stand with me in light. We are in light. We are the light of the world. We are part of the one light of creation, of reality. We didn't lose that. We just used our will against it. And the law of the universe, that you must get the result of your own thinking, gave us exactly what we wanted. And again, in many ways, it's really easier for you to understand yourself and what you've been asking for if you look at the results that you've been getting. Now, the old man used to call that the back door. It's like, just use the back door. You know what you've been asking for based on the experiences that you've been having. And be honest with yourself. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't try to spiritualize it. Don't try to intellectualize it. Just look directly at what has been occurring to you and what continues to occur to you. And then you'll recognize the decisions that you're making below below what preoccupies our mind. We're preoccupied by the world out here. But below that, we're constantly deciding. And we're deciding unconsciously in split seconds about things, and time covers that time, that split second up, so we perhaps don't even remember the decisions that we made or why we made it. Yet they remain in effect until we change our mind. We go back and change our mind about the decision. And there's a lot going on in this course that allows you, in a single instant of decision making, to, in a sense, stack the dominoes, like line up the dominoes that allow all the decisions that were made in the same way and for the same reason to line up, so that when the light comes and the true forgiveness is there, that whole row of dominoes falls, and forgiveness covers a broad scope of experiences within your own mind and heart, so that you're healed, and the effects are removed from your experiential equation, your life in space and time, because you've forgiven and it's gone back in the past. So therefore it goes ahead for the future and clears the path and clears the way. And don't put a limitation on that. Don't define what that means when I say it goes back into the past. You don't know. You don't know who you are. So you don't know really what your past is. We have very selective and very short-term memories here. Yet the beginning of space and time is also right here with us. So let it go back as far. Don't limit. Don't limit the healing power of your own ability to allow the Holy Spirit to straighten your mind out and therefore straighten your heart out. Don't put a limitation on that by defining the problem. That was the lesson from a couple of days ago. We know that there's a problem. We know the one problem is that we're separate. We know the solution has to come in an experiential instant of recognize that we are not separate. Well, don't put a definition on what the experience would cover, and it will cover everything in its totality, every thought that you were ever separate, and you can begin to get the benefit from a whole solution to the whole and single problem, and your entire life will be given to you anew as if this is the first time you lived. That's many people discover when they really have a true experience. It's not that it's a new life. It's that I never even knew what life was before. I didn't even know what life was. What I was doing was not living. What I was doing was dying, actually. And now that I've had the experience, I finally, this is what life is. Life isn't what I thought it was in any regard. And today we're being given back the ability to make decisions, to utilize our will, to will for what we truly want, and we've always truly wanted, and are beginning to recognize the reason that we don't have it is because somewhere we had forgotten this other decision that we had made, and that decision has been empowered to work just like give us everything that we ask from it, which is why our lives are the way they are and the world is the way it is. And now we can change our mind and see in the use of the power of our mind to attempt to make the denial a reality. We got the result of an unreality wherein which we could experience the denial. Now we can use our mind, recognizing that we had done that without having lost the power or the will that we were created with, and begin to make new choices whenever new choices presented to us. We don't have to go, we just have to learn how to make those choices. We don't have to go looking for those choices. When the choice is, when we're ready to make the choice will be presented to us. That's why we leave, and Jesus says, I'm in control of space and time. We leave the control of space and time to Him, because the Holy Spirit, that's sort of the gauge of the readiness. The Holy Spirit knows of our readiness to bring us these lessons, and Jesus, working very closely with the Holy Spirit, has the ability to help time and space be manipulated by your new changed mind, by the new changed will that you've been using. A change of mind that's resulted in a change of will, so that together we can will for things that begin to help us understand who we are and heal our mind, and begin to demonstrate that we are saved and we are not victims of the world we see. There is no will but God's. I am safe today because there is no will but God's. God's will is total, it's whole, perfect, and it's all loving. There's nothing in opposition to it, and there's no opposite to it. I can become afraid only when I believe that there is another will. That's what paranoia is. All of a sudden something's against me. What is that? I try to attack only when I'm afraid. And only when I try to attack can I believe that my eternal safety is threatened. So now this is leading the way, it's paving the way for an experience that you're going to be offered, where somewhere you're going to be given, you're going to be in a situation where you realize that you are scared and you are about to attack. And the demonstration to yourself and to the universe that you are ready to be a happy learner is the decision to stop at that moment, make the decision not to attack, reverse the temporal order, allowing cause to be you and the effect to be that which you are getting, rather than the effect to be the cause for your action. The temporal order will be reversed, and you begin to see in a new way by demonstrating that you really do want something else to yourself and to the universe, so it can begin to give you a different way of experiencing yourself and a different way of experiencing everything that's going on to you. And in that instant, you'll see that you have the power of your mind never left you, and you now once again have the power to will for light, will for understanding, will for experiences of forgiveness, no more for experiences of punishing yourself. Let me perceive this in accordance with the will of God. It is God's will. It is God's will. You are his son. And you say that to the brother you're with, who a minute ago you really wanted to curse and call him a son of a bitch. Instead of realizing that the curse will be enacted upon you, you decide, wait a second, here's an opportunity for me to use my mind differently. It is God's will. You are his son. And mine as well. Because nothing happens but by our decision. This is part of God's will for me, however I may see it. There are no accidents in salvation. Nothing happens by chance. Everything's being brought for you for your own good. And if you decide that it is altruistic, it is all good, the universe is only for your good, and you simply have always wanted what is for your good and not what is for your bad, you begin to sort your mind out. Your mind will begin to sort around the new decision that you're making. And you'll see, it's a little embarrassing sometimes to see the decisions that you made in the past and what they resulted in, and remembering that that wasn't your intention whatsoever. But all you have to do is see a couple of those to have the motivation that you would need to listen to Jesus and his ability to tell you how you've been using your mind here, so that you can begin to use your mind to remember that you are of the kingdom and there is only the kingdom. So be happy today. I will there be light. And you, my brother, it is God's will. You are his son, and mine as well. And we're going to stay here in light together.